Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
Yes. Shout out to Chop Nation. We're here for another episode, another week. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe because y'all ain't been liking, sharing, and subscribe lately. And that's what you got to do when you come up in here. It's because how you going to come into the Chop Up Show without liking, sharing, and subscribing? But it is me, consciously, you're a two-time NAACP award nominee. Make sure you go vote for me again if you can. If you haven't voted for me today, you can vote for me every single day until February 13th. Who am I with?
It's your girl Toya G. What's good, y'all? Good evening. What's going on? Don't look now, but January's on the way out the door. Shout out to everybody tapping in from the southeast portions of the country. I'm over here in Southern California dealing with some rain, but I know they ain't got nothing on what y'all finna run into. They're talking about inches of ice. They're talking about a bunch of snow. They're talking about power outages, this, that, and the third. But I'm hoping wherever you are, you safe, you're prepared, you are, connected with your people and got a game plan going on. And I'm just happy y'all with us tonight. What's up?
What's good? It's the plug again out here enjoying this Cali weather. Whenever it get crazy in terms of ice, temperature, snowstorms, any of that anywhere else, that's where I remind folks. This is why I live in California. We had 80 degrees last week. I mean, we was complaining about 60 something today. You know what I mean? Like, but compared to everywhere else, it is what it is. But it's so much more important shit that I feel like we need to discuss. That, you know what I'm saying? Fuck the small talk and the weather. We can get to it.
Yeah, well, shit, get to it then. I ain't gonna ask none of my small questions. You feel me? Yeah.
I mean, so when I say it's so much more important shit to get into, I'm speaking specifically of the events that have unfolded over the course of this week as it pertains to Donald Trump and Greenland. As y'all can see, there's been a lot of rhetoric, and not even new, right? We can go back to 2019, where we saw Donald Trump talking about obtaining Greenland, and I feel like what's crazy and what's interesting about the Greenland conversation is we can juxtapose it with what happened in Venezuela. And what makes Greenland unique in this context is that for generations, what we know about the U.S. empire is that it has used this context of democracy promotion, right? In terms of how do we get access to other countries in the post-colonial era, right? In the era of markets, in the era of transnational capitalism. You know what I'm saying? We know that the United States has used the free market corporations as business, selling it as democracy promotion and international cooperation and connection, but actually existing as more modern forms of colonialism. And what we starting to see with Donald Trump now is a break away from that. The veil of we're going to use business as a way to get access to other countries instead of force like we've used traditionally in the past. We kind of going back to that. Now, a lot of people would say it ain't really going back to, it's just taking a different face. But I think that's a unique thing that needs to be discussed, the implications of it taking a different face. And we can use the events of what happened with what's going on with Donald Trump and in Greenland now. Now, I want to start with what I think, and I want to get your opinions on this. What I think is it's an example of life creating its own jokes. I don't know if y'all know about the Onion, right? Like y'all familiar with the Onion is?
Definitely familiar with the Onion.
So what I'm about to show y'all now is a letter from Donald Trump.
Hold on. Hey, hold on. I gotta tell you this. On Instagram, your face is completely cut off because you're on the side of the screen. So you either look over to the left. So everybody on Instagram has missed everything you said because you being a center. There you go. There you go, old man, Unc.
Yeah, all this new technology and all of that.
No, I was saying as millennials, you know what I'm saying? We got to shout out the Onion. I feel like that was such a big, that framed and shaped so much of, peppered into the news and different news sources or whatever. Was a nice little Onion article to, make you laugh a little bit and think, oh, gee golly, journalism, you're so silly.
And right. But we would look at that shit and be like, it was the absurdity of the Onion piece that made it hilarious. You know what I'm saying? It was like, this is it, even though it's making fun of it, it's like, nah, we wouldn't believe that happening. This right here is an example of that no longer being the case. Now with Donald Trump, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a lot of shit that's been like, that's some onion shit, right? That can't be real. This has to be satire. But this one takes the cake. This is a letter from Donald Trump to the Prime Minister of Norway discussing his justification for why he want to take Greenland. And I'm gonna read it, right? Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus.
All caps.
So one, he's already sending correspondence as if he's on Truth Social already.
Oh,
he said, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Let's think about the implications of that. He no longer thinking about peace. He no longer obligated to peace, but more so the interest of the United States, which kind of already draws a connection between the interest of the United States being inherently violent. That's based on Donald Trump's understanding, right? Again, we seeing the veil fall. We seeing the facade be dropped. This is where it get crazy. He said Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China, and why do they have a right of ownership anyway?
And
it's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. What'd you say, Lee?
The right of ownership for our listeners that's on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, right of ownership in his letter is in quotation marks. So when he says, why do they have the right of ownership? He putting it in quotes, like
it's not a real thing.
It's already
have sovereignty and have an investment and have, the ability to rule over particular land masses that already exist. It's already a thing. How does it conclude?
He says, I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. Now we're gonna ignore the fact that he's been trying to get rid of NATO since he's been in power,
every time.
He says the world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you. Now in 2025, as scholars who study anti-imperial, literature, who've broken down and analyzed and argued the imperial nature of the United States, this being real, is it absurd or is it dangerous?
Both. It's absurd and it's dangerous. Not only is it absurd and it's dangerous, Toya, I think this is the nuance right here. A bunch of the European world felt like they were immune to American imperialism in many ways. And now we see Donald Trump is showing these white folks that anybody can get it. And I think that to me has been the thing I've been processing the most. I underestimated how much backbone the Europeans will have, because a lot of times I feel like they're America's little bitch. And I'm saying it as a black person that's against American imperialism, that feel like they always already just bend they knee to whatever America is saying. So the fact that we're gonna get to, I ain't trying to get too ahead of the segment, we're gonna get to how everybody else is responding. And I think that is the part that we got to unpackage. The way that we view the global north versus the global south, and we usually see the global north always being in cahoots and being in compromise with each other, in the way that they're always able to have a social constructs that say that we're going to do good to each other and we're going to keep that folks for the global south. We can do the blacks and the browns this way, but we agree we can't do each other this way. I think that right now is what Donald Trump is doing right now. He's destabilizing the European rule of order and making it where now you fucking up what we agreed on. You know what I mean? And right now you can't pull your militaristic things on these Europeans because we ain't going for it.
Toya?
My answer is simpler. I think it's absurd and dangerous, mostly because if you look at everything from the incorrect syntax to the weird use of exclamation points to the random capitalization of words that don't need to be capitalized.
I wouldn't go say that because I didn't want to be nitpicky.
Two
But
things.
the
No, but
random capitalization,
the lack of nitpickiness is really where you see the lowering of the standard, and it's dangerous when we have a president who can bully and push around and punk the European Union and punk a whole bunch of these nations to bend and shift and change and do backdoor deals to gratify him and stroke his ego, and they have to respect an imbecile who can't write correctly. The whole time you were reading that document, you know what I thought about? Y'all know what I thought about? That girl from OU and how she got away with writing that paper in that class, and how they all just stupid and dumb
Samantha.
and get credibility and get, you know what I'm saying, notoriety, and end up with respect of people. And it's like, how are you're garnering the respect of idiots, right? Because like they're willing to kowtow and bend and bow to you, and you do not have the proper ability to construct sentences correctly with appropriate capitalization, syntax, use of punctuation in ways that represent and reflect a document from a world leader. Like, that's what's sad.
premier world leader.
Is that he is able to have such an influence, such a reach, be so captivating, be so swaying, and they have to be like, yes, Donald Trump, but they look in the French embassy, the people over in Germany, folks in there, Belgium are just looking like, look at this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what becomes embarrassing and mind-blowing and absurd, but also dangerous, is look who has the power. Somebody who is able to get this off, and in response, world leaders would be like, yep, that's crazy. Oh, let us do this. And not President Trump, please rescind or revise and resubmit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, this is who the president is. What I mean, so yes, there are, you know, internationally political and imperialistic questions behind this and whatnot. But I just, on the surface level, it's just very dangerous, because look who's calling the shots.
You know, and that's what I think. Here's the thing about the absurd part, because this is why I slightly disagree with y'all. I don't think it's absurd at all. I think it's on brand. And the issue with calling it absurd, it allows us to be like, well, because it's not the neoliberal, neo-colonial approach that we saw from Clinton, that we saw from even Bush, that we see from Obama. Right, we can look at all of their colonial efforts at like being framed as democracy promotion, and that was absurd. The fact that, you know what I'm saying, the fact that Halliburton was going to bring democracy to the Middle East was absurd. You know what I'm saying? The fact that Obama and them cozying up with companies to create international relationships is going to make those other economies better. Those countries that they taking advantage of better. That was the absurd shit. Right, now in 2025, in like the modern era, like we finally run into, when we talk about like, this is what the empire really is. It's like, it's this. It's them being like, you know what? We only care about peace insofar as we making sure our needs are met. Interest convergence. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Derek Bell. As long as we got what we want, we'll be peaceful, because we the most dangerous. We the motherfuckers is the most willing to blow some shit up when necessary. So y'all want us to stay peaceful, and that's essentially what he's saying. So the fact that we think him saying that is absurd is because it's based in that we've bought into the myth that we've gotten over, or we've evolved from this type of approach to international relations. When it's like, nah, like this is what's real. This is really them. You know what I'm saying? That honesty. But after this.
But absurd is wildly unreasonable, illogical, inappropriate. That is the embodiment of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an absurd person. He's wildly unreasonable, illogical, and inappropriate. What he doing right now with Greenland. Not only is it inappropriate, it's breaking all of the legal things that they try to justify putting niggas up under. Hey,
right, part of the conversation we about to have is the justifications that they saying is that make him absurd. We don't think is real anyway. Like that, the democratic principles that I'm gonna put a pin in that, because that's because we'll transition into that.
My thing is, because I will just double down on the notion of absurdity, only because I think he becomes a case study on how you can take absurdity and make it palatable and marketable to people, right? How you can get up and say such a thing like, I don't stand for peace, and have like a group of people, a voter base, like individuals, like an electorate who's like, yeah, no peace, right? That is where it becomes fascinating. Not only is it very much absurd, but it is absurdity par excellence, dare we say, because he is taking it and uses it to mobilize and to patronize and to kowtow to a very particular group of people who are invigorated by the fact that you want to go steal a Nobel Peace Prize, or that you want to start a war and be like, or you want to tell people the only thing controlling you is your own conscience and not the system of government that you have. Like that's the part.
Right.
That's absurd.
It's like the complete ignoral of complete ignoring of any type of sovereign legitimacy for Denmark. Like since you motherfuckers didn't
want to give me the Nobel Peace Prize, I don't give a fuck about peace no more.
I don't give a fuck about, bro. Essentially,
that's absurd. Like, hold on. So,
but hold on. But Lee, that's my point. Is it absurd when we feel like that attitude is the real face of the United States?
To me, I said simply, the real face of the United States and the state of absurdity are not they're not mutually exclusive. I think that both of that, to me, it's like the realness of America is this absurdity, but a lot of times we've been able to look past it through the smoke screen of democracy, because democracy is all about this, that, and the other, through diplomacy, because this, that, and the other. We've justified a lot of absurd acts onto the world in the name of democracy. And just go back to the letter. The first two lines of the letter is, since you motherfuckers want to give me the Nobel Peace Prize, I'm not. That shit don't even sound that cool to me no more. Like you the president of the United States.
Yeah, and so he didn't stop there though, because they just had like a global conference in Davos, Switzerland, where he like doubled down in their face this time. He in Switzerland. He doubling down in their face this time. That's it. Let me know if y'all can hear it.
We never asked for anything, and we never got anything. We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good. That's probably the biggest statement I made, because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland, where we already had it as a trustee, but respectfully returned it back to Denmark not long ago after we defeated the Germans, the Japanese, the Italians, and others in World War II. We gave it back to them. We were a powerful force then, but we are a much more powerful force now. But now what I'm asking for is a piece of ice, cold and poorly located, that can play a vital role in world peace and world protection. It's a very small ask compared to what we have given them for many decades.
Now, if let's be for real,
ice that's poorly located.
I know, and let's be for real. Let's be for real. That was like Sopranos type. That was like a Sopranos type speech in front of the world. Like when you like, you know, we got the biggest guns, we got the biggest army. We just want to keep you safe, right? It's a shakedown. We just want to keep you safe. Man, this is a rundown area. If we take over, we'll have a better chance of, you know, protecting everything and keeping everything cool. You know, we're a deadly force. Now, we're not going to use that deadly force. I'm only mentioning it just so y'all know. But the issue that we run into, though, is if any other country was speaking like that about taking anything else, how do y'all think the United States will respond?
Bombs over Baghdad.
I mean, a good point is being made that nuclear weapons are an important variable here, right? You're going to hold and push around who you can hold and push around. And so it's a lot of land around there that is ripe for everything from oil development to, you know, pulling natural resources to gaining uranium to a lot of other special minerals and stuff like that. Places like North Korea, places like Russia. But as has been pointed out by one of our wonderful colleagues, he's not going for them places. Why? Because they got bombs for that ass. Because you would never come over here talking out the side of your neck like that, because you finna roll up on what? Come if you want to. We're about to be in a mad decision, about a mad situation. What is mad? For those who are not familiar with nuclear policy, that is mutually assured destruction. Act crazy if you want to. I'm gonna go ahead and call you a bluff. I'm gonna push this little button. You might could push your button, but we all gonna go kaboom. So let's really go ahead and escalate it in ways that we really feel like it can be escalated. I think that's an important framing component of this whole, Denmark situation and how Donald Trump has been moving. Is we've been hearing a lot, of course, from the leaders of Denmark, but a lot of the, conversation is like from Denmark, citizens in Denmark saying, we don't want to be Americans. We don't want that shit. We don't want this, that, and the other. It's been a whole lot of just people talking to a government, right? Like if there was nukes involved, we would never hear from the people of Denmark. It wouldn't be nothing to talk about because the nukes would be doing the talking, right? Yeah. We wouldn't even it's just, and I ultimately, I get this to say, because of course we would talk to and probably get perspectives from the people on the ground whose, entire nation is about to be overtaken. My point is the media coverage, the political conversation, the framing of discussions, the ways things would have escalated, all of that would have been different if that particular nation had different ways to militarize and protect itself. But when you feel like you can take advantage of something and you want to have a pity pissy party and you want to take the Donald Trumpian approach about it, you're going to go ahead and be a hoe, try to play bully and isolate. You then going to try to grandstand and act like you're doing somebody a favor by not doing what you wanted to do in the first place. When really we know, what I'm saying? It's a whole lot of you just popping your shit.
Now, to put context on. When Donald Trump says that we already had it, he's referring to what happened after World War II when Russia was able to go invade Denmark. And because Greenland is seen as property or I guess a colony of, I don't know, it's seen as a territory of Denmark. Yeah. Greenland,
like Puerto Rico type shit.
The Monroe Doctrine that allowed for America to protect Greenland from potential Russian or potential, German invasion. So because he felt like America was already protecting them, was already protecting Greenland, that means that we should be able to have and we should already have it. He really showing how he being a narcissist and being like, hey, listen, I've been able to protect your humanity. Give it to me.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a pimp hoe type relationship, bro.
Even some shit like what he say. Put a letter back up real quick. This is a statement that really kind of blew mine. Bro said, "I've been protecting NATO since it started." Nigga, you was the president. You just started being president not too long ago. Why are you taking credit? He said. What'd he say?
I've done more for
NATO than any other person since its founding. What are you saying, gang? What are you saying? You was just,
oh man,
you ain't been president that long, fam. NATO was here
since 1949.
After he tried to get rid of NATO.
Hey, this is an aside. Can I make an aside real quick?
Go ahead.
1949.
NATO. Who was it? Was it Head of State with Chris Rock and Bernie Mac?
Yeah, and Bernie Mac.
Like NATO. You talking about NATO? That nigga NATO owe me some money. I just wanted to put that out there. That's one of my favorite Bernie Mac joke moments. Was in Head of State is one of my favorite.
Yeah. Which and the funny thing about it, Head of State was nowhere near absurd as this.
Yeah,
nowhere near absurd as this. That's what's crazy. Now I definitely don't want to act as if they just laying down and Denmark and them is just like whatever you say, Trump, because they have made comments pushing back. You have the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said we stand in full solidarity with Denmark and the people of Greenland. Sovereignty is not negotiable. The EU Defense Commissioner, Andreas Kubilius, put it more bluntly. He said if the United States using force against Greenland, it will be the end of NATO, period. And Greenland itself, their prime minister said Greenland is not for sale. You cannot buy another people. Which again, I think you was bringing this up, George, that the whiteness of Greenland is the reason why they're making these statements, because look at who you talking to. Look at who you telling you can't buy another people. You know what I mean? Like the United States, like I'm talking about the way the capitalism functions, nigga, everything is for sale in this motherfucker. Like they buying and selling people is how we got here. You know what I mean? So it's like it's something to be said about how even when the empire, because empire turning itself, because being a part of NATO, that's an imperialist organization. Let's keep it real. You know what I'm saying? Like the purpose of it is to extend Western influence into other places where that like we are not geographically located. Yeah, I mean, we got other motherfuckers to do our bidding as long as we make sure the big bullies in their neighborhood don't, you know what I'm saying, don't make a problem for them. That's what NATO is. So we're not gonna act like NATO is just like this egalitarian global humanitarian effort. You know what I mean? We know it for what it is, but at the same time, seeing the white powers turn inward on each other, and just that the response of this is impossible, this can't be happening, is like, nigga, like, and this is a part of the problem that black people have with these conversations, because it's like all this shit that y'all saying is like completely unacceptable because Donald Trump has done it. We've dealt with repeatedly. It becomes difficult to feel bad. I get what the Prime Minister of Greenland is saying when he's saying, you know, I mean, this stuff ain't for sale. But you talking to the descendants of enslaved Africans,
right?
Like, so, you know, those type of statements become we end up pulling backwards, because it's like, well, maybe it's something you got to learn first. Like, you hear Donald Trump bullying them, and you be like, yeah, like, that's kind of fucked up how he on top of them, whatever. And then you hear them respond and be like, yeah, bro.
And then what's crazy, because we talk about this, but then we'll talk about, you know, and not talk about, for example, the Tulsa massacre. We won't talk about the Africa family up in Philadelphia, and what we see historically, and many other examples, right? Roseville, just so many different places that were destroyed by white people who was just like, if I can't take that shit off you, I'll just tear it all up. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't want to give it to me, you know what I'm saying, I go and just cause some mayhem and some destruction. So you're gonna do it the easy way, you're gonna do it the hard way. But it's gonna get done. Yeah.
But actually, that's a great transition to the next part of the conversation, because I do think that logic travels, like the logic that we see that's being applied to Denmark and being applied to Greenland and all this other shit, that is reflected back on how shit go down in the United States. And so when you look at what's happening with ICE, for example, I would make the argument that the facade being lifted in terms of how the United States moves internationally also lifts the facade in how they move domestically. Because like all we've been going back and forth about is ICE, is ICE. Not the last conversation before is ICE. We still talking about the young woman that was killed by ICE. There's been other ICE events. ICE then kidnapped a little kid to use the child as bait to get the family, you know what I'm saying, to come out so they can get who they want, and all of these other types of shit. But I do think it's important to note, though, as like when we talk about how what we're seeing with the empire is actually his true face, not anything new. We can say that about ICE. Like, ICE has been an ancient organization well before Donald Trump became president. But Donald Trump, definitely, we can't ignore the fact how much he made it worse. Going back to a 2018 investigation by the Los Angeles Times, where they found that ICE had wrongfully detained over 1,400 U.S. citizens between 2012 and 2018. So when we talk about Obama and comparing him to Trump, we still see ICE being dangerous, especially for U.S. citizens even at that time. A 2019 ACLU analysis showed that local law enforcement agencies frequently held individuals for ICE without judicial warrants. And all of this is before the shit that we've seen recently happen now. So if that logic in these organizations, whether it's how they moving with Greenland and then how ICE is moving, what makes y'all think, the way that they panicking about Greenland, the way they panicking about ICE, what makes y'all think, or why do y'all think people finally started paying attention? Like, why is it now how the empire moves becomes more relevant, even though it's been some shit that we've had to beef with about U.S. international policy, about ICE? Why is it now? Is it Trump's delivery? Is it something? Are we in something deeper? You know what I'm saying? In a different moment? What y'all think?
I think it's Trump's delivery. I think it's Trump's delivery. I think that a lot of Americans love to have a beautiful face to American imperialism one that is much more softer, one that is much more black like Barack Obama's. I think the way that America moves internationally has always been about imperialism and expanding its empire and being able to exploit resources. I think that because Donald Trump has been so candid and straightforward about what he's doing and how he's doing it, and not engaging in some of the political doublespeak we used to, not being able to, manufacture consent the way we used to, and just saying straight up, I'm gonna take your shit. I think that's what's making it different. That's why everybody paying attention to it. I also think a lot of folks that's usually not impacted by American imperialism and American white supremacy are now being impacted by it. And not to get super philosophical, but I'm reminded of
nigga, get super philosophical. That's what you get, a podcast to get super philosophical on this.
I say that to say I'm thinking about Afro-pessimist ideas about humanism and about how Black people are always already outside of the human family, and how, talking about humanistic problems doesn't capture the way that Black people are, fucked over. When the prime minister talks about humans and talks about you can't do this and what you can and can't do, it's very humanistic, and it shows me that the rest of the world buys into non-human humans in the way that they justify how we get fucked over, whether we're talking about Venezuelans or Nigerians. And I think that what's happening right now is we're seeing that a lot of people that felt like they were immune to white supremacy or immune to American imperialism sees that when it's time for America to try to bite back from how it's being squeezed, that we will, when I say we, they use my tax dollars, you know what I'm saying? So if you're watching this right now and you're not from America, when I say we, I'm not authorizing America doing any of these undemocratic, ungodly, unconstitutional, inhumane things. What I do know is that the way I gotta pay taxes, because if I don't pay them hoes, they're gonna come get my Black asses. They're gonna use my tax dollars to do a whole bunch of things that I think I should be very mindful of. What I think that a lot of us lose sight of is that we have this very American exceptionalist idea that whatever happens across the pond or internationally ain't got shit to do with us. And I think that when we start talking about how a lot of our family members, they join the military to go to school or to get that charger or to get those tattoos, the we is our people. When we talk about how the military gonna get put on somebody else, it's a reason why we make jokes about niggas going there, because we know that when you about to graduate from high school, what recruiters are going to be there trying to capture you and be in poverty? Are you poor? Do you want some school? Do you want housing? Join the military. How many Black people in poverty are in the military? So when I say we, I'm talking about the motherfuckers who are going to put their blood, sweat, and tears and going to invade that country over there, and we have to be the ones to get their bodies in the box to have a family reunion. I mean, to have a funeral. So when I say we, I'm talking about our tax dollars and our Black asses that's going to be in the military. I say all to say this. If we can't think globally and act locally, if we think that the way these white folks fight with each other doesn't have any bearing or material impact on us, not only are we lost in the sauce, it's going to continue to sustain the hierarchy of it being white over Black, light over dark, to make it where we always saying what's happening over it don't impact us, while they recruiting our little cousins and our nieces and our nephews and
Like, I don't know. I feel like, Lee is definitely onto something when just talking about how, it's real pervasive. It's kind of hard to get away. It's kind of hard to look away from in so many words. And so I think that is the truth. Imperialism is mainstream now, right? You know what I'm saying? It's not this foreign, even if you don't use the terms or phraseology of imperialism, like people are picking up on the patterns of empire, right? A lot of people may have heard 10 years ago, 15 years ago, imperialism and not been able to use their context clues to really get it. Now it's like imperialism, empire. What do empires do? How do they roam? How do they rule? Right. How do they, and it becomes a little bit more fathomable now. So it's not this, separate concept that you learned about in 11th grade history class. It's not something that, is so antiquated or so separate from your day-to-day life. You're seeing what it looks like,
material,
right? To be in the empire, to be in the panopticon, to be, you know what I'm saying, in the grasp of, the long and far-reaching arm of the state. And, some people was just like, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They can't keep tracking me. They ain't worried about me. I ain't worried about them or whatever. No, they on your ass, right? They on your food stamps. They fooling with your temper and with your health care, your Medicare, your Medicaid. Your mama had coverage. Now she don't. Now all of a sudden it's real to you. It's on your front step. And so many of the appendages of this particular presidency, right, are reverberating in people's real lives. So you can't, it's day to day. You know what I'm saying? That it's really hard to not be impacted by it. And this is where, Max makes a point that, in 2010, it was, damn, somebody got deported. Oh, really? That's crazy. And it was like this, thing that happened that wasn't really talked about. And that person probably needed to get the fuck up out of here. And you know what I'm saying? There are a bunch of different, because we didn't know about the system and the process and how, unforgiving and how sensitive and how, voracious it was.
Right.
And so it was just like a thing that happened.
What the porter in chief meant. Like, right.
Exactly. Really, right. It was just like, a low blow, one of the, many things that they wanted to kind of ding on Obama about or whoever about, but not really think to pay attention to. So it didn't matter when it was a gardener from across town that you heard about on the news, but now it's your gardener. Now your favorite restaurant is closed, right? Now your favorite business that you want to patronize, you can't. Now your neighbor that you seen that didn't bother a soul and that you didn't really know. Had no idea. You thought their English was just too good. You thought they was upstanding, got a good job, keep their yard clean, would never have fathomed that they have some, questionable documentation or don't, or are here legally, are doing everything right and still got snatched up. And now all of a sudden you pearl clutching, trying to figure out where things went wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot more of this happened to me, this happened to my person. I'm a teacher, my students scared to come to class. Right, a whole lot more. I'm, in this role, I'm doing this particular thing, and now my life has changed on a fundamental material level to where it's impossible to look away. I also think Max makes a point that is solid that, the stage of Minneapolis is just so unique, right? The last, I say, 5 to 10 years, Minneapolis has uniquely kind of been under a microscope. And one unique microscope they've been under is the tragic murder of George Floyd, compounded by just a few blocks away, the tragic murder of Renee Good. And now you all of a sudden got people just like, oh, they killing everybody. And we've been telling y'all that. We've been telling you that white people are not safe. We've been telling you that X populations are not safe. And it's not just
they're going to come after you next.
You know what I'm saying? We've been, but now we see it, and the juxtaposition is just too vivid. It's too vibrant, right? And so much of the damn, it could really be me. It could really be mine. Oh, it's equal opportunity out here. So real. And I think about something as we talk about these things, man, like today, no BS. And I'm driving around my Southern California freeway. So, but of course it's a mixed bag everywhere. So let's not make it seem like California is just some special, excluded place from the nonsense that exists, the MAGA-ness, the whiteness, the white supremacy that exists. But I saw like 5, no kidding, driving back from LA today, I saw like 5 Blue Lives Matter stickers on the back of people's cars. And I was just like, am I missing something? Or is it picking up again? Like, are people doing new Blue Lives Matter? But I don't think it is. I think it's a whole lot of Blue Lives Matter people from 5-10 years ago who put them stickers. And I want to ask them how they feel about ICE now. Right? Because Blue Lives Matter was cool and sweet shit when you thought it was popping and when ICE wasn't, ravishing your community and your neighborhood. But now that ICE is on our front step, are you really back to blue no matter who? Because that ain't nothing but an extension of the blue.
Right.
Are you really willing to stand in these perilous times and really ride for law enforcement the way you riding for them? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like back to blue people about just how deep your allegiance to that blue stripe goes. Like, I want to talk to them. Like, you really feel like that in this age of ICE? Like, I get it. And police just trying to do their job. They're just good people trying to protect their community. Like, I was able to, maybe you were delusional, but I was willing to fathom that defense of the police way back then. But now what? Now how you feel about
what? If they own some back the blue shit, because even before it's funny because it's not funny, but the coincidence in the whole thing is in some of the online conversations I was having about ICE was already from the break. My beef with ICE ain't because it's in the news more so. My beef with ICE is my beef with law enforcement. Period. I don't distinguish police from ICE, from CIA, from FBI. That is the paradigm that is the system of policing that all operates under a similar paradigm. Like,
what's interesting though is it's starting to be tension between these policing apparatuses. That's very funny.
In certain places, I get because in other places.
I'm not listening. I want to be clear. My caveat I'm saying right now is not a disagreeing of you. I'm just thinking about how funny it is that these policing apparatuses, nigga, they cousins. This I want to be clear. These kinfolks. ICE and the state troopers, and
I would say brother and sister. I think they closer than that. They brother and sister.
They brothers and sisters. Hey, you feel me? Hey, hey, it's some project shit going on.
Cousins is what
I swear to God.
No, what they call them hood twins. They hood twins.
That's how I see it. But I seen that Brooklyn Park, Minnesota's police officers were being racially profiled off duty by ICE. So much you had to have the police chief of the Brooklyn Park, Minnesota police come out. First glaze ICE. We know you guys, we think that we need enforcement, immigration, this, that, and the other, but you guys have been racially profiling the off-duty police officers. And I don't think it's ironic it's been out of police officers' color. Now, this is what I say right here. I think it's important.
That's absurd. That statement being like y'all doing a great job, but
he said it though. Swear to God, Max,
you can bootlick while you wearing the boots. It's cool.
Swear, hey, that's what he did though. So to your point though, Dom, I will show you. Even if they getting fucked over by their cousin brother, they still have that seniority and that kinship of being like, but guys, still you have to do our blacks and our Muslims and our Latinas in the force like that.
And the answer is yes.
I want to think that's very important too. I think it's very important. The reason why this conversation is vital for people listening is that we're illustrating to y'all the ignorance and the impact that white privilege has on white people. We showing y'all both internationally and domestically how white privilege breeds ignorance into a reality, and how sometimes privilege, you feel me, or ignorance is a privilege in itself. So a lot of people, when we're talking about the people in Denmark or the people in Greenland or the white folks here in America, they felt like they had the privilege to always insulate themselves from the ugly reality that we always been looking at. So they were able to not only ignore, but literally be ignorant of these realities. When we're talking about global imperialism and American hegemony, Iceland, Greenland, Denmark, he getting all y'all mixed up now. Or whether we're talking about how fascism turns its way in domestically. Renee Good's family, or all the white liberals that we, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole bunch of us, you feel me? A whole bunch of y'all, I should say, that really thought that fat meat wasn't greasy, or that really felt like white privilege didn't have any bad impacts on white people. We're seeing now,
white privilege sucks for white people. I ain't gonna do that.
I think too, you know.
Go ahead, tell you.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, I think too, this conversation represents just how interconnected, you know what I'm saying? And this is to kind of pull on some of, you know, who's my girl? Who I'm trying to pull on? Man. Just the interconnected forms of oppression, right? How they all kind of work together, right? When we think about the violence that is committed by ICE,
anytime I hear interconnected, was you talking about intersection, Kimberly Crenshaw intersectionality?
Not quite Kimberly. Yes, of course. Kimberly Crenshaw.
Yeah, you say interconnected oppression, like you talking intersectionality. Yeah,
1000%. But I was also,
how did you forget intersection? You gave a whole ass lecture. Toya, if anybody needs any type of training
and other textures I was trying to give to analyze that particular point. But, you know, very familiar with intersectionality. Thank you so much for attempting to kind of come at my neck about it. Are we good? Because I know what intersectionality is. Thank you.
And promote if y'all need a good conversation of intersectionality in your workplace.
Thank you.
Like Toya G.
I only do the trainings. You've been a part of them. But no, in real life, when we look at like just the interconnectedness, and we'll go ahead and rest on this concept of intersectionality, right? Because it not only speaks to the intersectional ways that, you know, people of a variety of identities experience oppression, right? That your blackness and your womanness and your queerness and your this and your that, your ability status, your immigration status, all those things create a very unique and prolific experience for you. It also creates a very unique and prolific experience of power and domination, right? When you have the intersections of heteropatriarchy combined with imperialism, combined with capitalism, combined with heteronormativity, combined with able-bodiedness. Right now we're having interesting conversations, everything from the militaristic approaches we take to go and take over and, you know, use biopolitical power to dominate people's bodies, down to the white men who are, you know, leading and guiding some of these efforts, to the black and brown people who are often targets of this violence. Like there's just it's all more connected than we think, right? It is a ruse of power and domination to try to silo out and separate a lot of how power functions and what power looks like. But just as much as we have intersectionality that exists to explain the different and very complicated, sometimes convoluted ways that people's identities work together, we also use intersectionality to understand how power supercharges itself, how it becomes co-constitutive of itself, how it becomes interdependent and co-reliant on itself in order to sustain. So when we're talking about a lot of power, what we're talking about is creating a fluency in vocabulary and language to talk about the particularities of it, but to recognize it's all some of the same people doing a lot of the same shit, just in a bunch of very unique and different ways, right? This is how we get, hegemonic powers. This is how we get imperialistic countries. This is how we allow for neo-colonialism to happen. This is how it is that we perpetuate a lot of the same power dynamics that we look and say, look over there, look at how it's happening. But it's just an appendage, right? I think about
it's part of the matrices of oppression.
Yeah, it's just a jumbled ball of yarn. And if you really start to untangle it for what it is, right? If you look at the ball of it, it's a whole bunch of different contours, a whole bunch of different lines that are seemingly independent, but it's all just the same shit.
So before we move to the last part of this conversation, I do want to point out when we talk about because a lot of people ask the question, and Toya, I think actually both of y'all spoke to pretty well in terms of the relevance that these international conversations have with what's happening over here. We can look at a direct parallel or a correlation that I would argue stems from the posturing that we see globally and how it reflects even ICE specifically. Because since Donald Trump has been posturing about Greenland, we've had a memo that was leaked by PBS NewsHour that exposed how ICE has the ability to go into people's homes without judicial warrants, right? Citing an administrative authority. So where legal experts are saying that undermines like the Constitution, the whole being free from unreasonable search and seizures type part of the Constitution itself. So you have that ramping up of how they're actually, because this is dealing with U.S. citizens. According to PolitiFact, in the 2025 Nome versus DHS spotlighted how ICE exploits the civil nature of immigration enforcement to sidestep Fourth Amendment requirements altogether, making racial profiling easier. They called it a Kavanaugh stop. The Supreme Court said that if you look like an immigrant, motherfucking ICE can stop you. That's Nome versus DHS. If you look like a immigrant, ICE can stop you. That is legal. A Kavanaugh stop.
Right. And add that to last year, what got decided also, I think it was Congress or Supreme Court. One of them, I can't think of which one it was, but definitely also said that accent, skin color, job occupation are three things that you can legally be profiled on now, specifically when it comes to immigration or deep ass deportation. So just make sure you are all being very vigilant of the law and understanding that if you're a person of color, your ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
And again, this is what impacts U.S. citizens, because you have U.S. citizens that are Latino. You're U.S. citizens who work what they call immigrant jobs. There's always been U.S. citizens. So again, like the bigger threat that this exists to is to the people who are supposed to be protected under the Constitution, right? So like the parallel between Donald Trump saying "fuck the sovereignty of Greenland" is the same rhetoric, logic, and logic that we see when they say fuck the rights of citizens in the United States, just because you may look like you come from somewhere else, right? Now to get to the last part of the conversation, one of the conversations that we had, at the beginning, and then I've had with other people just in discussing how Donald Trump is moving right now, is it's been like the normalization of this type of violence, or this type of like dismissal of the Constitution, or this type of just doing whatever the fuck they want, white privilege, has made it to where when people become outraged about these types of situations, the response is usually like, but that's just how shit always is. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we know. So a nigga would be like, man, Donald Trump is just trying to take shit. They'd be like, that's what white people do. Right. and while like I get that, I want to know from y'all, is that the when we look at that approach, are we actually furthering the normalization of the shit that we should be outraged by using its history and its consistency as a response to that outrage? Like niggas, let me frame it like this, because I'm one of them niggas, and I hear this often. So this may be a personal thing, but I'll be like, look at this shit that's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at what the fuck Donald Trump talking about in Greenland. They talking about taking, you know what I'm saying, taking shit, and he literally just saying it. He's saying it out loud. Niggas just like, yeah, but that's what they been on. What does that do? I guess is what I'm asking. Because I would argue that it works to kind of.
I think it keeps you anchored in reality, right? Because again, I would say even if like during Joe Biden's presidency, it's like, bro, did you see? Can you believe that they would do something like that? Like, okay, cool. Right. But the man said Project 2025. He said, I want it all. I'm taking it all. I'm getting it all. Put it in our face. People didn't take him up on it and say it was fact. So then that's what makes it hard to be like, Donald Trump is doing what? He wants to do what? He said what? He wants to, like, you get a certain amount of fatigue. And I will say this, I understand that his regime is depending on that. Right. I think that is what, his henchmen and his iteration and orientation toward power is contingent on, is people normalizing it, people being like, oh, well, just another day in the office for him. Oh, that's just kind of how it goes. But it's kind of hard to get excited about something when somebody looked you in your face and told you what they was going to do. And then you got the nerve that crazy when they do it. Right. It's kind of just like at what point I don't know, because I don't want to become desensitized to it, but I just. It's kind of like when you have that conversation with your siblings. It gets to the point where you have that conversation with your siblings. You like, you know how mama is, and it ain't too much talking. Your mama have done some of the most wackest, foulest shit, rude, mean, manipulative, annoying, whatever. But it all, you know how she is.
But everybody's just like,
that's what the issue though. It's what the issue is though. When we saying and using it, it's like, man, you know how mama is. We saying that because it's kind of like inconsequential to us, because mama gonna be mama. I'm gonna do what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about this. It's gonna be over with. The issue in this instance, though, is that it is consequential to our life and it does impact our material reality. You feel me? And I think that's the tension. The tension is like, at a certain point, think about it on a personal level. When you say, man, come mama, you are desensitized to mama bullshit. And you are accounting for it.
It's not black people respond in the way that they've survived historically. We have always had to look and be like, mama on some bullshit again. We got to go ahead and do what we're going to do regardless, because we know that in this particular instance, the state, whoever ain't going to do shit to our behest anyway. We know it's not going to go far enough. We know, even a good thing can happen. A good thing can happen politically. And you hard pressed to find a nigga that really feel like it's going to make it to their doorstep. You know what I'm saying? The same way it's gonna be 5 bad things before the one good thing get to you. For better or worse, like disengaging from systems and even positive things. Candidates who have really good things that they're running on, whatever, because you like that shit ain't gonna make it to my doorstep. Yeah. Right? What am I getting all excited for, to vote for, to participate for, if I don't really feel like the trickle down is gonna trickle down? We've been hoodwinked by that before. Y'all remember trickle down economics, right? That was just the 80s. Ronald Reagan was like, we're gonna get y'all. It's coming. Yeah. We just gotta get ours first, and we didn't see it, right? And so that has been the survival strategy for generations, is to not, you know what I'm saying? Like when we talk about our favorite athletes, what do they say about some? They say it about Jalen Hurts. He's never too high and never too low, right? He never gets too excited about a win. He never gets too dismayed about a loss. It's that even keeledness that gives him the all-star championship caliber, MVP caliber, status, is because he's been able to move through different environments in season and out of season. Since we were talking about church last week, y'all make sure you go watch that episode. But in season and out of season, right? My nigga is just like the same. And that has been the agenda, the strategy approach of black people being resilient for generations. But no, I'm not gonna be like, something bad is happening. Can you believe it? Because no. And
I think the problem though is because I don't think outrage has to be, can you believe it? It can be believable outrage, right? You could have a crackhead cousin that has stole from you before, and you like, I'm gonna give him another shot. I'm gonna let him live with me because I know he needs it, and it's my cousin. I love him. I want to make sure they straight. And then you let them in your house.
I want all my cousins out there to stay off that stuff, because don't make me make them type of decisions. I just want to I want y'all to stay clean, because I don't want to have to decide like that. But carry on.
But look, so you let them back in. and everything's cool for a while. Then you come home one day and your TV and PlayStation is missing. You could be like, and it's gonna be people that's gonna look at you and be like, now you knew. There's gonna be people that say that, but the one thing that niggas is not gonna say, well, it's some people may say it, but you still got a right to be mad though. I still have a right to be outraged because y'all was talking about this earlier. Look, y'all was talking about this earlier. The absurdity of what Donald Trump is doing, right? Are we used to Donald Trump doing dumb shit? Yes. Do we know he damn near lightweight illiterate? Like we know he's an idiot. And we still look at this letter and say, absurd. This is ridiculous.
But here's the thing, using your cousin example, cousin to cousin, if you call me and tell me what our other cousin did to you, if you tell me cousin Jordan came over here on some bullshit, I'm going to judge you because you don't have any boundaries, my nigga. You don't have a healthy emotional relationship to kinfolk, and that's my cousin too. You know what I'm saying? But my criticism, and this is what niggas do, is be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are some boundaries, there are some places I'm not willing to, and I'm shout out to my pessimists out there. There's some places I'm not willing to even let my brain go. I'm not willing to fathom a world, but that nigga sleeps on my couch. You cannot stay here overnight. I'm barely letting you stop by.
But Toya,
you can't stay tonight.
But Toya,
no, you can. I almost don't even want you to take your shoes off, my nigga, because I know how you move, and I know
I need to watch your hands at all times.
You feel me? Like I see.
But look though, but Toya, but when we say that though in the context of the empire, when we say that in the context of racism, right? When we say that in the context of misogyny,
sure,
we say it comes off, or the dynamic that it creates is that there is a timeline for outrage. And when that timeline means that we're beat down to the point to where it is what it is, then we're saying we're this thing that we should constantly be pushing back on, we starting to accept. That's kind of just like that's what happens. And when we say that's what happens, there is a tinge of acceptance of that circumstance in there, because I can recognize that's what happens and still be mad.
Or at least a little docile passivity in this, you know what I'm saying?
Just a little bit.
I like these examples. I think a better example, a better metaphor analogy in this. We're talking about violence.
Instead of crackhead, because crackhead cousins is some stereotypical shit.
We don't want to be dismissive of addiction. We love everybody.
We love everybody. Look, I said I'll give my crackhead cousin another chance. You know what I'm saying?
The better analogy is this, Damo. The better analogy is this. You being hit repeatedly. In the first 5 times you got hit, you was like, after a while, it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, you should never be like, you feel me? In my mind's like, all right, man, the bully being the bully. It's like, no.
Now, you know what? It's like a better analogy instead of
this week. I'm man.
A better analogy instead of crackhead cousins, going with George talking about, is when you got a child and that child is constantly hitting on you. Sometimes I ain't gonna lie, my son like to punch. So sometimes I'm just like, all right, nigga, whatever. But exactly. You got to teach them early because you don't want them going to school hitting. You feel me? So it's like it's one of them things to where I get that I can be used to it, but me being used to it will never make it to where I'm not gonna say shit about it. And not only not say shit about it, I'm going to show you the outrage. Am I going to be outraged in terms of like confusion in terms like how could this happen? Like that's not gonna be me. Like I get it. You know what I'm saying? I'm still mad about it though. Like, yeah, mama, like, yeah, I know how mama get down. She's still annoying the fuck out of me though. Like I just keep in this tag. Shout out to mama. Shout out to mama.
Mama see this and be like, oh, is that right?
You know what I mean? Shout out to all the mamas, man. Every mama.
So my last question, as we wrap up this conversation, is how do we push back against that cynicism? Like what do we what are some of the things that y'all can speak to? Unless y'all believe that it's necessary to a degree. You know what I mean? But how do we push back? Because we recognize that type of cynicism creates apathy that pulls us away from being active. And that above all else, that's what we want to avoid. We don't want people not caring. You know what I mean? Because like then the type of violence that we speak into, like when people stop caring about that type of shit, like we have like it's like we feel like we're regressing from the times in which social movements and that type of caring was important. So how do y'all think we address the normalcy of it and still make it to where it's inspiring enough for people to push back?
I mean, I
For the community. We
what,
want to feed my community, brother. I think it's what I think. I feel like a lot of
time, man.
yeah, hey, we need some I feel like a lot of individualism feeds into a lot of cynicism that allows for individuals to fall back on their immoral, unethical, selfish like ideas about like shit. It is like what I do with me. And I think if we were able to define the phenomenon and make it act in a desired manner, thinking about how capitalism incentivizes us to be individual and selfish, and think about how that individual and selfishness gets us to turn a blind eye to how our neighbor getting fucked over or how our family members getting fucked over. I think as long as we have the idea of being the individualistic go-getter hustler, if I can get it, you can get it. It ain't my business, it's my business. To me, I think all those things play into the climate that makes cynicism always already sexy and seductive because it ain't my problem.
I think. Okay, re-ask the question so I can make sure I'm not going left field. How do we not fall into the cynicism?
Well, and unless you think that cynicism is healthy, like unless you know what I'm saying, but is it because you expressed certain
yes, I did. That's why I'm trying to find the optimist in me because I want to double down on the cynicism.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't want the optimist because who you up here with. You feel me? Like, because y'all know I teach. Y'all know I teach.
Yeah. You put that SAT words, bro. Let me pull out. I feel like we should define cynicism for the audience.
While you pulling that up, I came across a great opportunity. This is a side note. I've been I teach a homeschool program.
Phantom. Say it again. What?
I teach civics for this homeschool program, and we were talking about political participation. And I showed them a video of this young Black girl from the University of Wisconsin talking about voting and racism in Madison and all of that. And she mentioned Afro-pessimism. She and just briefly, but it was just like I was just like, okay, she kind of she did her thing. My students, I had them write a reflection essay on Black political engagement specifically, based on some of the comments she made, what they agree with, disagree with, where they think she could add to whatever. But a lot of them was talking about how the whole how society is situated around the enslavement and imprisonment of Black people. They found that to be an interesting concept. Some had criticisms of it. So like even these are like my 11th graders. Like it's a finality to it that they don't necessarily rock with. So I was like, yo, I could teach a lesson on Afro-pessimism if y'all want me to. And like the whole class was like, yes, I want to hear more about this. I want to know more about this and all of that. So I was like, I got a little hype, you feel me? Because I was like, I get to teach the new generation about, because I tell them like Mr. Damo's an Afro-pessimist, straight up. So it's a lot of stuff that don't surprise me. You know what I mean? But just because it's not a surprise doesn't necessarily mean Mr. Damo ain't gonna get, get in his ass. I don't say that, but it's a similarity in how we speak. But go ahead. Did you get the definition for the people, George?
Yes. Definition of cynicism, according to Oxford Languages, is an inclination to believe that people are motivated purely by self-interest. Another one is cynicism is an attitude characterized by a general distrust of the motives of others. A cynic may have a general lack of faith or hope in people motivated by ambition, desire, greed, gratification, materialism. I feel like cynicism is good.
Yes.
But see, wait.
I'm trying to find the problem.
but because there's a but on that another end.
So everything I just said about selfishness and all that, I think I know what I was talking about. Selfishness ain't got nothing to.
But cynicism can lead to apathy. Apathy can lead to inaction. Inaction leads to
that's where I feel like I don't know, because, and I think this is just the way like yes and no. Like I feel like the way that life is kind of situated me personally, there will never be a world where I'm completely apathetic, because I will be able to fall back on just controlling what I control and making meaning out of the places and spaces that worker life has situated me, right? And so, like, I'm never so apathetic that I'm gonna let my people struggle. I'm never so apathetic that I'm not willing to do meaningful things or coalesce with people doing meaningful things to preserve life, to preserve, the survival, to preserve like the general functionality of the people around me. Community is important to me, right? Like it's hard to not be cynical when, as much as I care about community, as much as an educator, right? My classroom is always going to be a space and a place where people feel like they can be liberated, that they can be, cared about, that they can be met with compassion. Like these little, fissures, these little, spaces in my life, right, will always kind of be filled with the compassion that I have and the heart that I have as a person who is a lover of people. Yeah. Outside of that, though, and in a grander context, I struggle with like the collective mobility necessary to really have any level of optimism. Like, I firmly believe there will not be an election in November. I firmly believe that Donald Trump was cold ass, dead ass serious when he told them Christians to vote for him. I bring it up every other episode. He told them, he said, vote for me, you'll never have to vote again. He meant that shit. And I've been hanging on them words since November 2024. Or 2023, right? Like that's what I've been hanging on. He meant that shit. And so I don't know what collective activism, I don't know what organizing looks like. So like, even when I'm rocking with Phantom, we're Crashing Phantom said, you put the comment up there, be a laser, not a flashlight, stay focused on how to physically enact change. Like, I'm doing that. Like, yes, I'm always going to do that. I just don't know what it means to scale that up. I don't know what it means to scale that up when there are very specific, not just your regular, democracy is broken, voting don't work type shit, but like concerted efforts to undo the Voting Rights Act of 1968, when there are specific, or 65, when there are specific concerted efforts to like kick people out of the country who are legal voters, when there are, you know what I'm saying? Like, so much shit. Yeah. So I don't trust it. And so that's where it's like hard, because again, too, a huge reason why we don't have a Black agenda, and we also don't have a collective, social agenda, is because there's so much distrust, because there's so much cannibalism, because there will always be infighting about who gets to lead the movement, who gets to hold the mic, how long they get to hold it, and what they get to say while they're holding that motherfucker. The whites is not going to choose a Black woman. We saw that with Kamala. We saw that certain people, some Black people are not going to trust the Black woman in a leadership position. So then what? And then, is she Black anyway? And then what if they gay? Because Buttigieg is out. And then what if, and then fuck politicians. Let's get to actual community activists. You're queer, you're trans, you're a woman, you're disabled, you're what, you know what I'm saying? And then now it's a whole nother kerfuffle in terms of who people are willing, let galvanize, lead, create change. So excuse my cynicism. Pardon me. I don't want to be that person. I'm not even naturally that person. I'm looking in the eyeballs of two people who know my soul. I'm a lover of people. I'm a lover of life. I speak life, right? Like, I attempt to impart it and have fortified my entire reality with this kind of vigor of what is possible. I just don't always see it when it comes to what the political orientation looks like as we move forward. And it's hard to buy that when they doing shit in our face. Time is over where we be like, he ain't for real. He playing. How many times? Yeah. We get to be shown before it's just like, nah, he really coming to eat this shit up, and it might be too late. So it might be too late.
Yeah, okay. I'm not there yet. So to cap it off, and then Lee, you can close this out. We use this analogy in debate. I don't remember where it came from, but we use this analogy often, especially in the context of working through the cynicism that we have based on our circumstances. And that is, the circumstances of slavery, people felt that was what it was. Slavery was the reality, was going to be the reality. And for as long as it existed, it was the norm for a lot of people. Slavery only became a memory. It only became something to undermine when enough people looked past the cynicism and viewed getting outside. Like the impossibility is the impossible is possible. Shout out to MPJ West for the super chat. Appreciate the love for sure.
Big love.
But it took people being like, this may be the reality, but it doesn't have to be. It took enough of those people to take that approach. You know what I mean? Like stepping off of the plantation and thinking about running away. There were always much more worse circumstances trying to leave than just staying and working. You know what I mean? And it was that challenge of looking at reality and saying, that I'm like this first step is what it looks like to change that, regardless of what I'm saying, what I'm surrounded by. And so it's, I'm not saying that our circumstances are as dire, but it is the believing in the impossible when it comes to being an oppressed people that have led to the types of changes that created the world we exist in today. So it's all these things that we still have a problem with. We still exist within the empire, but that shift in reality and what's possible was only done by embracing the impossibility. What's up, Toy?
I want to take that comment, what you just said, because I think it's fair, it's reasonable. And I want to connect it to Crashing Phantom's comment. No, it is. And here's why. Because Crashing Phantom says the movement isn't, and this was why I was talking, they said that the movement isn't going to have a leader because leaders are obsolete. Insurgencies have many cells operating for the same goal in many ways. They continue, white nationalists don't have leaders, and that's why they're available to move as they do with ubiquity. Right. And so I think that is real, right? Like it is illogical for white people to think that they are going to like rule the world and rule the planet, right? There are just so many other brown and black countries, but the concept of white supremacy is the appetite to just, like there's no one leader being like, this is how you do white supremacy. This is how you do white nationalism, but just the insatiable appetite of domination. Yeah. Is what wakes them up early every morning, right? It's what makes their Cheerios go down easy. It's just this understanding that this is the mission, this is the mode, and they have done so for so many generations that they do it both consciously and subconsciously. And so in that same way, and to connect what you were talking about, this is why I'm kind of being facetious, but also being dead serious, right? Like your guiding light just needs to be be fathoming the impossible. Like what happens if today is the day that we defeat white supremacy? If maybe that's the engine, that's the battery in my back that I need, right, to slip and slide through some things. But it's also a good point being made that while I wake up with that fervor every single day, that the bottom line is, as long as there's not enough white race traders in the world, as long as there's enough people like not push power and really give up some shit and be uncomfortable and go it out and take some L's and come up off some shit, then you know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to like not have cynicism, right? You show me more white people willing to give up some shit and I will loosen up my cynicism. I don't think my cynicism is not a reflection of y'all. It's never been a reflection of my niggas and what they willing to do, what they capable of, what we can do, what we think is possible. I don't think it's ever been rooted in that. It has always been, anchored in the inability to relinquish power and the necessary kind of action that's going to take to tip the scales, right, from the 51-49 split. If we want 51-49 to go the way, we need a couple more white people to be like, this is just unacceptable. Yeah, just unacceptable.
Go ahead, Lee.
I think it's the teacher in me wants to make a distinction between skepticism and cynicism. So I went and found some shit. Skepticism questions claims, it seeks evidence with an open, curious mind to find truth, while cynicism distrusts human motives and it assumes the worst, like selfishness, malice, without needing proof. It leads to negativity, pessimism, and closed-mindedness. That's what it is. It's not according to me. This is according to the English language in use.
It says cynicism. It says cynicism leads to.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, cynicism leads to negativity, pessimism, and close-mindedness. And skepticism is about how to know, while cynicism is a negative conclusion about people in the world. I feel like capitalism in the way that Western epistemologies have polluted, a lot of our minds, has made cynicism almost like you need a little healthy cynicism to be able to survive this old cruel world. But also, I think that what I said about community, I think still speaks to being able to resolve cynicism, no matter how good we think it is. I think thinking about community, having that eye for an eye, having the climate where you think about your neighbor makes it where we start to build up more trust and more faith into people in generally. The last thing I'll say is next week, y'all put your hats on. I'm going to be coming from a real radical. I'm going to be arguing that niggas should we should abandon democracy. And for everybody that's ever, I'm going there, Damo. I'm going to be arguing and laying down that democracy should be abandoned and niggas like Damo should let go of these romanticized ideals of democracy and really weigh into the reality of democracy and be able to think about all the things that niggas have in democracy has been in spite of democracy and not because of it. Our right to vote, our right to shit next to white people, our right to get in the classrooms. He a Stokely Carmichael nigga right here. I'm already laying down the groundwork where he put me on Stokely Carmichael. Stokely Carmichael said that the Voting Rights Acts, it wasn't for niggas. It was for white people. It was to show white people niggas can do this. These gonna be all my arguments to say that I looked at a lot of y'all crazy when y'all was saying we gotta protect democracy. We gotta fight for democracy. I still question right now. I say everything you see Donald Trump is doing, he's doing it because he's mastered how to take the wheels of democracy to be able to justify shooting people, to be able to justify going in your home, be able to justify invading Greenland. He can shake his head all he wants to, but next week I'm bringing the motherfucking fire and all you patriotic, I believe that the Europeans made the best governing. Bring it, goddammit. If you believe that the white folks of Greece, that in 2026, the best form of governments we had is what the white folks came up with in the
It wasn't unique to them, though. It wasn't unique. We had democracies and republics in Africa.
Now, for you and everybody in the audience, I'm giving you a fair share to be prepared. If you want to defend the
I'm prepared to listen to this bullshit.
Oh yeah, you better, Dominique, you better goddamn bring it because I'm letting you know right now, I'm coming with it. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna give you a little some of the shit. Democracy is a tool of domination. We're gonna be talking about how niggas have always been criminalized for our participation in democracy, as well as getting into how a bunch of all the violence in the world when it comes to Western domination or American hegemony. That's all
and
the name of democracy.
Sitting there cheesy because this is what the cynics
want. This why I wanted to go this week, but now formulated. Now it's just this. So now this. I'll say this in conclusion. As I prepare to have this very thought-provoking conversation, you should just ask yourself in conclusion, is democracy something that we should always already be trying to make better to actualize the ideas to the reality that we all can identify we ain't seen yet? Or do we believe that we have the innovation and the intellect to come up with something astronomically better? Thank you to everybody that's tuned in to this episode. I'm going to encourage you again. Please like, share, subscribe. Next week, we're going to have a very thought-provoking conversation that's going to be real, that wants to rip it away from all these patriotic ideas about it being so grand. About it giving you all the rights and all the liberties and all the freedoms and all that old shit. You feel me?
Yeah. But
yeah, we need some theme music. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I want y'all to see this look on Damo's face. He's gonna have that look on his face all week. I'm coming with it next week. Goddamn.
Hey, on the way out, want to thank again MPJ West for dropping a super chat up in here. We definitely appreciate the love. We don't come into it asking for too much bread, but whenever y'all want to go ahead and drop something in the bucket for the work that we're doing in between time, we do appreciate that. Also showing love to Crash and Phantom. There's a bunch of other people in the comments. I want to say Anjanae Davison, Vyas. I think you definitely been in the comments in the chats before. It's just a bunch of great people who've been chopping at us with up in here. Kepri Green, like a bunch of cool people. So thank y'all. Shout out to y'all. Make sure y'all spread the word. Chop Nation is vibrant. We alive and well. Pushing through the rest of this spring every Thursday night. We moving on CP time. So shout out to y'all for pushing through the CP and seeing us for who we really are. You know what I'm saying? Around 7:30 East Pacific. Yeah. Around 10:30 Central, but we always coming through. In the meantime,
around 9:30 Central, you feel me?
The whole time.
Around there, you know what I mean? Just put up in front of your TV and get ready to have some conversation. Bring your popcorn, get your family in front of the television.
We got to do it like the real YouTubers though. It's not getting from the click the notification bell. So no matter what you're doing, you could already be in bed. You could be on your way home. You hit that notification bell. You know that we live. All you gotta do is turn it on.
Don't forget to vote for Consciously for NAACP Digital Creator Award. Go to any of his profiles and you'll see where to click the link and follow it. Vote every single day until you can't vote no more. It's going all the way through February 13th or something like that.
Yeah,
so we got to make sure we keep tapping in. The link is in the chat.
One more shout out. Shout out shout out Zayax Institute. That's where I out of New York, Q Butter. It's a great homeschool program for Black students, Black curriculum, Black people that care about Black people, Black kids. So shout out to Zayax, man.
Yeah, again, everybody, Crash and Phantom just said it in the southeast portion of the country. Everybody in those regions about to get touched. Make sure y'all stay safe, stay bundled up, stay protected. Everybody everywhere else, keep your head up, keep your chin up, stay motivated, stay connected, stay loving on people, and live your life in higher definition. Goodbye.
Peace. We out.